everyone. This is Next Best Series podcast, and today I'm joined by the star and producer of Cross, Aldis Hodge. Thank you for joining us today.
Indeed. Thank you for having me.
You know, when we see on-screen detectives, everyone knows like Sam Spade or characters like that, but Alex Cross has a unique history of its own besides the books. You know, there are multiple interpretations of him on film. I think whenever you're stepping into a character who's been played by Morgan Freeman, there's
Mhm.
already how am I going to make my own spin of this, my own interpretation as a performer? I feel that has to be a challenge of its own. What did you feel when you brought this character to life? Were the factors that if I get this right, I think I can nail Alex Cross?
I dig it. So for me, my approach is always uh, what is my one-to-one relationship with the character on a humane level, right? So I try not to, and I do my best not to let other iterations sort of impact my process or impede my process. So I don't really pay attention to anything outside of, what is his character's nature? What is his honest? Where's his heart? What are his ambitions? What are his fears? And when I have that relationship established, it's really my approach to every single character. It allows me to figure out who and what he is as I decide for myself, so that whenever I'm trying to explore something new with the character, that relationship feeds it and secures those choices. So I wasn't really nervous about trying to figure out how to bring a new spin on it, because we were also introducing something that hadn't been done before. With this show, you get to see the entirety of the world. You get to see his relationships. You get to see who he is as not just a detective as he has been presented before, but as the family man, as the father, as the friend, right? So there were so many new areas that we were able to sort of navigate, that this was going to be a wholly nuanced experience that was fresh from the start. So everything was going to be new. And for me, yeah, I just never had the pressure of, I guess, a comparative narrative.
Mhm.
My vision was always locked into the new opportunities presented, and I was always excited about it.
I'm glad you bring up the world of Alex Cross. I feel making a cop story in 2025 is definitely a huge aspect of this series. I think, not just Alex plays as a man born from this community in DC, but also his place in the community as a police officer, how that brings up certain complications with those around him, those who one moment, oh, this is a friend, a family. But once you're behind this case, obviously those lines blur. I think that conflict is quite essential for this interpretation of the character. Did you find that that was one of the major reasons that attracted you to come into this reboot? I know when certain reimaginings, you don't want it to just be a stale
Mhm.
redone out of like the same thing people have seen before. It does bring a fresh spin.
Yeah, the tact that with which this was handled is, I think, quite precise and intellectually strategic. That's what I love about Ben Watkins' writing, Ben, the showrunner and creator. The thing that really drew me into this was the fact that this character was a lot of things that I'd been hoping to exhibit and play for a long time. A lot of things that I had to fight for that I maybe didn't get on other productions of different jobs in the past. Whereas, he was this man who was intelligent, he was streetwise, he was savvy, he was elegant, and also very raw at the same time, and didn't have to explain who he was in the room, didn't have to apologize for who he was in the room, and didn't work within the confines of other people's negligent bias. He's the one who manipulated the scenario to his benefit and worked around bias. So to play somebody of that magnitude has always been sort of, bro, my allergies are whooping up.
It's been terrible this year.
Bruh, I'm like, oh no, I'm about to sneeze in a minute. But to play somebody of that magnitude has always been the goal for me in any capacity, whether, like the job classification is only further supplemented by who the human is. So I can step into any working world if the character is somebody that I admire, and have ambition for.
This
Jesus,
year's been rough, let me tell you. My eyes, every time I step outside, it feels like I am just ready to claw them out. So you are all good.
brother, I am dying, and I wish like Claritin or something worked, but it ain't
It's
on my
like
side.
water at this point, doesn't
Yeah.
open.
So those are the things that attracted me. It was just really the opportunity to step into this kind of character, and with that confidence, I figured that I had an idea of how he would handle um, tense or tumultuous situations. The narrative around policing, being able to step into that, is not a hard one, I think, for for us to figure out because it's real simple. And I think the conversation in regards to solutions around policing is actually quite simple in real life. It's just it doesn't get executed
Mhm.
in real
Yeah.
life, and it's who are the good cops that are standing in the real line of fire when that fire, the person behind that fire also has a badge. Who is willing to work within the system to change the system while openly criticizing the faults of the system, without looking like a hypocrite. That is the complex challenge that Alex is tasked with, but at the same time, representing what it means and the whole point of what it is to be a police officer negates all of that debate because you still got to stand up to crime regardless of what package it comes in and how it looks. So being able to show that side of the story is a huge opportunity.
I,
Help clarify a couple of confusing conversations people may have in real life.
yeah. I think also I you touched on one thing that I love about, Alex Cross as a character and seeing you bring it on screen was great is the confidence. I
Yeah,
think whenever you have an interrogation scene or you love to get into people's heads, that's just the key. You are like the master interrogator.
yeah,
So
yeah,
obviously it's no surprise that in the first episode that scene went very viral of you just talking about my dick's bigger than yours. I did you expect that when you guys filmed that it was just gonna like blow up
yeah.
like that?
I knew it was going to be a moment. I mean, it was his confidence in that scene that sold me. In the original first draft of the script, that scene was the first one up, and that, was done within the first like 10 pages. After I read that, immediately I said, yeah, I want to be a part of this because of how he handled the suspect. It was the mental prowess that he exhibited in that moment that's set the tone for me for how he would possibly handle the rest of his journey. And that was exciting for me to play because he was just so smooth and cool and clever, and that tells me everything I need to know about why I want to be in this position. So I just thought it was a cool ass dude who could speak to you from a different point that most people couldn't because he goes in the room already knowing
Yeah.
exactly how it's going to go. He's playing chess in a big way. And yeah, it was just too cool to pass up, man.
I think also, the chess is a good way of describing it because especially when you go to Ed Ramsey's birthday,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I'm just gonna get in his head. I'm gonna mess with it. I think also it's fun seeing that passive aggressive dynamic between the two characters. For those who've seen the show, obviously there's a few episodes until we get the revelation that Ed is fanboy the
Yeah.
killer. I think also I hate that I watch too much television because as soon as I see Ryan Eggold, I'm like, he's the killer. Like this is
Yeah.
you don't get someone of like Ryan Eggold's TV status to be like, oh, he's
Yeah.
just some nobody. So seeing you come up and go toe to toe, what was it like, playing that out that dynamic between the two? Because I mean, Alex figures out pretty early too that he's the killer. It's just
Yeah.
convincing everyone else through the
Yeah,
rest of the
exactly.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great because I like how the sort of the allure of the mystery was laid out where Ramsey was so brazen and they both knew exactly who each other was in sort of this cat and mouse game, this challenge. So when you take away I guess the idea that you have to discover, it presents a different problem, which is now that I know, how do I convince others, right? And then that's where the challenge lies in for Cross to unravel the mystery of who he's connected to, how he's connected, what does he have over these people. That's where the real detective work really happens, and just trying to figure out how they were going to write it, and keep the game alive. Episode to episode had me on the edge of my seat, and I can only imagine how that was going to play out for our audience. At the end of each episode. And Ryan, I mean, he's great. He's amazing. He did a fantastic job, and he came in there with. Like we would go back and forth and spar in scenes with a little bit of improv here and there and challenge one another. And it just elevated the text bit by bit by bit. And he came to play, man. So he was perfectly cast. And yeah, I gotta say we had a good time with it, man. I live for the villains on this show. I love the characters. I love who we have in Cross and the family element that we have. I love the relationship with Samson. But something else I really enjoy about the show, just as a fan, is we get full seasonal arcs with the villains, and we get fully fleshed out villains who we get to understand from a humane basis. So we get to think about them differently. We get to connect with them differently. And I know that every time there's going to be a villain, I'm going to get way more substance than just surface level, twisting the mustache. I'm going to
Yeah.
understand something differently. So I look forward to it.
It was great too also that the confidence from Amazon, you guys got the early season 2 renewal ahead of time.
Yeah.
So have you guys started filming? Are you guys still planning it out?
Oh, we already shot season
Oh,
two.
damn. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of, what can I
Yeah.
know you can't say much, but you talk about villains. Who's going toe to toe across? Who's it's a good challenge.
I can't say
No?
a thing, man.
Uh,
I wish I
Killing
could.
me.
I wish I could. But
Okay.
I can't say that.
Okay. Well, let me get you this before we head out because you are on Amazon
Yeah,
and
yeah.
another detective who has been very popular on Amazon. Has anyone floated the idea to you about you should do a crossover with Reacher?
Yeah, a lot of people say it.
Yeah, okay. I want to hear from your personal bias. Who's better? One on one.
Oh.
Who's okay?
Come on, man. That's okay.
I
That's
gotta
no good.
ask, you see Alan and he's just like 6'4" and he
Oh,
had
he's
to
mad.
he's got to fight a bigger reacher this
Yeah,
past
yeah,
season.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
no,
Cross
he's
wins.
yeah,
Okay.
cross.
Okay, we locked it down. You heard it here,
Yeah.
everyone. Honest, thank you so much for joining. It's very much a fun time watching that series. I'm excited to see what you guys do with the next season, and
Thank you.
I'm assuming plenty more to come. So thank you so
Yeah,
much.
hopefully, man. But thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, now.